At 2:15 a.m. on the steel bridge spanning the Nitro River, a Russian military convoy nearly 8 kilometers long was slowing down. More than 500 vehicles carrying ammunition, fuel, and command equipment were jammed in the night. This was the lifeline for 2,000 soldiers on the southern front, and it was about to become a trap. Above, a Nebo-M radar swept the sky every 3 seconds, capable of detecting objects as small as a baseball from hundreds of meters away. The Russians believed they were safe, that their air defenses were strong enough. But they did not know that just beneath that cold sheet of metal, 12 Ukrainian UAVs were silently waiting for the order. These UAVs needed no GPS signal, no operator, no radio. They used a structural map of the bridge to navigate autonomously. For 72 hours, they lay motionless amid the sound of the river and the bridge's vibrations. Now, as the Russian wheels ground to a halt in the danger zone, a hand in a secret bunker pressed the single activation button. Green indicator lights came on. 12 UAVs dropped free from their magnetic clamps, fell 3 feet, then their motors spun up and they surged. Mechanical sounds blended with the trucks and the hot air above. They flew in a low formation, hugging the concrete piers, staying beneath radar and human sight. The attack began in absolute silence. Inside each UAV, a PG-7VL warhead was armed to detonate with a 1.1-second impact fuse. The first group of 6 headed for the ammunition trucks, 4 more aimed at fuel tankers, and the last 2 locked onto command vehicles. In the Panzer S-1 control cabin, a Russian lieutenant detected an unusual electronic signal and hurriedly switched the system into combat mode. A 57E-6 missile was launched when radar locked a thermal track beneath the bridge. It hit a decoy UAV that had triggered earlier. The explosion lit up the riverbank. Sparks and smoke billowed. Drivers panicked and braked. Vehicles piled into one another. Sirens wailed and the whisper of fire began to feed fear. Chaos spread. Radio chatter hissed. Command staff shouted. Air defense systems were confused by the jamming response. In that moment, the masked UAVs in the dark slipped back under the bridge beams, invisible as if they had never appeared, leaving above a trembling convoy and questions that bred dread. The UAV's onboard AI switched to evasive mode. One activated an X-band jammer, turning radar displays from blurred to entirely white. 40 miles to the north, warning aircraft detected unusual heat signatures. Signals from the air were sent down, and the contest between perception and reality began to reverse. Data from above clarified the targets, and defensive systems immediately relocked. A Tor M2 fired a 9M338. In an instant, one UAV revealed a trick. From its belly, a long fiber optic cable shot out, deploying a decoy that drew the missile to an illusory target, and the missile detonated in midair, leaving fragments to fall. The midair explosion produced a flash. Every radar in range looked upward, while the real UAVs remained intact. Silence followed, then tension spiked. From the Ukrainian command bunker, the final order was pressed. The remaining 11 UAVs powered up, ready for the decisive strike, like a silent sentence for the stationary supply column. A 57E-6 missile was launched when radar locked a thermal track beneath the bridge. It hit a decoy UAV that had triggered earlier. The explosion lit up the riverbank. Sparks and smoke billowed. Drivers panicked and braked. Vehicles piled into one another. Sirens wailed, and the whisper of fire began to feed fear. Chaos spread. Radio chatter hissed. Command staff shouted. Air defense systems were confused by the jamming response. In that moment, the masked UAVs in the dark slipped back under the bridge beams, invisible as if they had never appeared, leaving above a trembling convoy and questions that bred dread. The UAV's onboard AI switched to evasive mode. One activated an X-band jammer, turning radar displays from blurred to entirely white. 40 miles to the north, warning aircraft detected unusual heat signatures. Signals from the air were sent down, and the contest between perception and reality began to reverse. Data from above clarified the targets, and defensive systems immediately relocked. A Tor M2 fired a 9M338. In an instant, one UAV revealed a trick. From its belly, a long fiber optic cable shot out, deploying a decoy that drew the missile to an illusory target, and the missile detonated in midair, leaving fragments to fall. The mid-air explosion produced a flash. Every radar in range looked upward, while the real UAVs remained intact. Silence followed, then tension spiked. From the Ukrainian command bunker, the final order was pressed. The remaining 11 UAVs powered up, ready for the decisive strike. Like a silent sentence for the stationary supply column, explosions continued like a drumbeat, destabilizing the whole structure. The last 4 UAVs struck the structural piers with repeated lateral force. The bridge deck began to sag, cracks spread rapidly, and in that chaotic instant, many vehicles were pulled down, plunging into flames and smoke. The southern half of the bridge disintegrated, road segments collapsed, the deck folded like hinged panels. The first vehicles plunged into the chasm, glass shattered and metal screamed. An ammunition truck burned. Successive secondary detonations made the scene increasingly horrific and hopeless. A chain detonation consumed 2 adjacent ammo trucks. Stocks of shells and fuel became a sea of fire. Temperatures soared. Black smoke billowed tens of meters high. Nearby defensive systems were trapped under debris and flames. Mobility was blocked, and initial rescue teams could hardly reach the area. Fuel tankers ruptured and exploded in succession. Fire raced along the convoy like an endless belt of flame. Fragments flew far and fell into the river, bobbing on the surface. Ground command's capability degraded as communications failed, and the air was thick with the smell of burning fuel and searing smoke. In decisive seconds, heat and smoke degraded both infrared sensors and radar. Automated gun mounts fired into the smoke without distinguishing targets, creating more confusion. By 3:48 a.m., the southern span of the bridge had completely vanished, leaving twisted steel and shattered concrete. Ground units fell into disarray. Command vehicles were disabled. Radio networks were paralyzed. Of the 300 vehicles, over 100 were destroyed or immobilized. Subsequent satellite imagery showed half a mile of burning wrecks along both riverbanks. An apocalyptic scene splashed across the news. The material consequences were enormous. More than 2 million pounds of ammunition and fuel were lost. Frontline supply was instantly depleted. Without ammunition and fuel, artillery positions would be silent for days. Mechanized forces lacked fuel to maneuver, and all operational plans had to be postponed. Efforts to reroute supplies faced disadvantages. Alternative routes required detours of dozens of miles through contested terrain, making convoys easy targets for enemy fire. Time costs and risks skyrocketed, and rear commanders were forced to consider lower-risk options. Panic spread among formations, communications failed, and operational order collapsed. Drone footage released by defense forces showed thick smoke columns, burned wrecks, and persistent fires. The images proved cheap. UAVs had struck critical targets: fuel tankers, command vehicles, and defense complexes. Scene analysis indicated 9 out of 11 UAVs hit their targets. 2 were shot down or successfully jammed, but that did not diminish the operation's effectiveness. The total hardware cost of the UAVs was minute compared with the material damage and strategic impact they inflicted. Soon after, the battlefield dynamic changed noticeably. Attacking commanders hesitated. The southern thrust stalled. Defensive units immediately adjusted. Field artillery and air defenses were redeployed to buy distance and time to reinforce defenses. At dawn, satellite images showed the large gap where a bridge span once linked the banks, a 400-foot breach impassable to traffic. Rear firefighting teams tried to extinguish lingering flames while defensive reconnaissance drones circled, collecting evidence and preserving the scene. The losses were not only material, they weakened operations across the entire southern front for several days. Ammunition and fuel intended for major units were gone, forcing attackers to slow and reschedule logistics, while defenders seized the opportunity to reposition forces. Within the next 72 hours, defenders organized probing attacks along the weakened axis. The opponent, lacking supplies and dispersed, was forced to withdraw in some areas. The situation illustrated that logistics, not just troop numbers, can decide a campaign's fate. Subsequent counterattacks and selective airstrikes targeted stockpiles and backup routes. The board shifted as defenders used the temporary advantage to tighten their lines. Military analysts soon cited this engagement as an example of the efficiency of networked, lean operations. This was not a strike of tanks or fighter squadrons, but proof of the power of ideas and timing. A string of small rotors, an algorithm, and a detailed map produced enormous consequences. Modern warfare is shifting from noisy battles to silent but decisive operations. Planners who once believed a threat had to be visible in the air neglected the danger beneath the wheels. This attack raises big questions about the future of war. Will data sophistication and automation redefine how we think about security? With a few $100s per UAV and a prepared plan, a massive supply route can be neutralized overnight, forcing every side to rethink how to protect logistics. If you had $10,000 in one night, what would you do to protect or to break a system 1,000 times stronger than you? Share your thoughts. This is Shield Military, where every strike has a story. Thanks for watching. See you on the next mission.